Okay, guys. So don't forget to turn your cameras on. All right. So remember, we're in the listening section, and today we're going to be looking at the lectures. So remember that in the listening, we got not like two parts in the listening section, right? First, we get the conversations, and finally, at the end, we have the lectures. So we're going to be looking at them now. So first of all, anybody knows what a lecture is? Can anybody tell me what a lecture is? Maybe Cayetano. Do you know?
No, I don't know.
Okay. So basically, a lecture, one way you could see it is just a class. So right now, this thing we're having, it could be considered as a lecture. Is uh, a class or something where someone or a speaker is explaining a topic. So that's exactly what you will be listening to. You will be listening to a professor, a college professor. This is a college class that we're talking about. And the professor will be explaining and elaborating on a certain topic. And that topic is going to be academic, by the way, which means that it could be a bit harder. It's probably going to be harder than the conversations. You will have more no words. So it could be something on, it's not going to be something that hard either. It's not rocket science. It will not be on physics or astronomy or stuff like that, but it's probably going to be something about technology, the environment, that kind of stuff. Now, you may have two types of lectures. In the first one, the professor will be talking and you will have no students involved. So it's just the professor. It's a bit robotic, I gotta say, but it's also the less common one. So you could have just the professor speaking, no students, and it's a bit more formal. It's like the professor were reading something, or you could have a class in which the students are also involved. So it's like a discussion, the thing that we're having right now. So the professor may ask some questions, the students respond, and you got that interaction. So um, if you have the second one, please try to make sure that you are identifying who says what, because sometimes the students will say things that are not necessarily correct. So maybe the professor asks, like, what's a lecture? The thing that I just asked, and one student goes, so I think it's a reading text. And so that may not exactly be the correct information that you want to take notes on, right? So careful with that. Maybe then in your question, you have something like, what is a lecture? And one of the options is it's a reading text. So you got to make sure that you are careful with that whenever you have the students participating. But I think you will be able to do that. Now, if you're wondering about the structure of the lecture, I cannot exactly tell you what type of structure you will have. There are tons, there are a lot of types of structures or organizational styles that the lecture could have. And I'm going to be giving you some examples so that you get an idea. However, one thing that all of them will have is an introduction, of course. So at the first 30 seconds, I would say you will have this intro where the professor will be like, hey guys, today we're going to be looking at maybe pollution, we could say, pollution. And maybe you got a short definition on that term, like what pollution is. And you also got a short, smooth transition sentence that is going to give you a good idea of how the lecture will be structured. So maybe the professor says, and we're also going to be looking at the causes of pollution. We're going to be looking at 3 causes of pollution or at the effects of pollution. So pay attention to those 31st seconds because they will give you a good idea of how the structure will be. And then the professor will pretty much break down the lecture into different subtopics. And that's what I cannot tell you about. It could be anything. Here are some examples. So it could be theory and evidence. Maybe the professor is introducing a theory, Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, and you got different types of evidence supporting it, you know? Maybe it could be cause and effect. The example that I was giving you about pollution, the causes of pollution, the effects of pollution. It could be steps of a process. Maybe if it's a biology process, something like the embryonic development, and then you got like a recipe, you know, for first, the heart is developed. Second, you got the organs. Third, this. So, or maybe it's a comparison. Maybe you got something like capitalism versus communism and similarities versus differences. So it could be anything. Sometimes you got also history, historical events or historical notes and or biographies. So there are many ways in which the lecture could be organized. The thing is, most of the questions are going to be detailed. So your notes are going to be key, essential in this case, more than conversations. Notes are key. And when you're taking notes, of course, try to look for the most important information. So things like, I think I got some here. So things like names or dates or opinions, maybe this person said this, or numbers, percentages. Like there was one lecture about population growth. So I don't know, in this part of the world, population has grown 50% more than in these other parts. Take notes on that. If you have a comparison, take notes on the similarities, the difference. You can do a bullet point list. If you have historical events, maybe you can do you can draw a timeline and start with the dates, you know, in the sequence of events in chronological order. If you have a biography, that helps too. You know, just pay attention to those key points. Concepts, that's something that I've seen a lot. And actually, whenever the professor asks a question, that's probably going to be your questions as well. So if the professor's like, can anybody tell me the definition of pollution? And one student answers, take notes on that. That's probably going to be in your questions. So just try to take notes on anything that you wouldn't remember like normally. What else? The tips are the same ones that I said that I gave you for the conversations. Maybe one thing I could add is pay attention to transition words. They help you big time, believe me. So whenever you hear things like, okay, so let's start with, or now let's move on to, or moving on, or what's more, or for example, or take this as an example, whenever you hear those words, those are big red flags, pay attention. That will give you a good idea of how it's organized. And not only that, you know, not only is it important to know these transitions, but also to understand how these work, you know, so how these basically what they mean. So if you have as a result, then you gotta know that it means that it's a consequence of something. Or if you have thus, make sure that you memorize, that you learn this by heart, so that it doesn't take you by surprise in the day of your test. If you have, however, then you know it's an opposition. You know, if you have similarly or likewise, then you know that you have two similar elements. So in general, check out some transitions and that will help you. Okay, what else? Think like a student. You gotta think like you were about to take a pop quiz on the lecture. So think about that. And yeah, what else? Yeah, I think most of the questions will be detailed once more. So gotta take notes. So I think that's pretty much it before we look at the example. Any questions so far? Okay,
We can hear you, Andrea.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, okay. So now we're gonna be looking at one example. And okay, so what I want you guys to really, the main thing that I want you guys to do is to pay attention to how the structure is, okay? So we're gonna be listening to that lecture. I want you guys to take notes. I'm also gonna be taking some notes, and then we're all gonna send our notes to the group, okay? So that we can check some out and we see how we could organize our notes based on the lecture. So please get a piece of paper if you don't have one already. We're gonna listen to this set. Okay. So if you're ready, I'm about to play it. Okay, let's read the instructions though. Listen to the lecture about facial recognition. So we know what the topic is, facial recognition. We're gonna see.
Hello, class. So today we're going to be looking at facial recognition and to the different sorts of technology that go into facial recognition. Now, before we start, can any of you tell me where we can see facial recognition in action? Yes, you at the back?
In the TV show Las Vegas?
Well, you're right. In this popular TV show, the security team pull images of the individuals from their surveillance system and run the image through a database to identify the person. In that way, all the card counters and blacklisted gamblers can be escorted from the poker tables. It looks easy on TV, but in the real world, facial recognition is a tricky business. So let's start with the more traditional methods of facial recognition. Every face has peaks and valleys, and these can be translated into what is termed as nodal points. Each face has about 80 of these, and they include distance between the eyes, the length of the jaw, the width of the nose, things like that. These measurements can be used to create a numerical code, and this is called a face print. This system is good because it can compare two-dimensional images such as photographs. The problem is that images have to be controlled. The person has to be staring straight at the camera. There must be no variance in facial expression or lighting because any variance in these parameters reduces the effectiveness of the system. So they had to come up with another way. So the new way of recognizing faces is by using a 3D model. It has better accuracy allegedly. 3D imagery detects distinctive features in the face such as the curves of the eyes, nose, and chin, features which do not change over time. These are measured at the sub-millimeter level. Interestingly, a 3D image can be taken not only from a live scan but also from a 2D photograph. And another good thing about the 3D system is that it can recognize a person from a range of angles. The person doesn't have to be directly facing the camera as in 2D technology. Once again, the system gives each individual a unique code, a set of numbers that represents the face. It's easy to match a 3D image to another 3D image if you already have a 3D image in your database. It's less easy to match 3D images to 2D images. But what they can do is pull certain measurements from the 3D image, such as the eye and so forth, and use this to convert the 3D image into a 2D image, and this image can be more easily compared to the 2D images in the database. But it's not just the measurements which can be used to recognize faces. There's also a new development called skin biometrics. This uses the uniqueness of skin texture to get its results. The process takes a picture of a patch of skin, and the system will then identify any pores, lines, moles, blemishes, and other features of skin texture. This method can be used to identify identical twins, something that cannot be done with the 3D technology. Its other advantages over 3D imagery are that it's insensitive to changes in expression, blinking, smiling, and so forth, and can compensate for changes in facial features, such as the growth of a beard or wearing glasses. It's not perfect, though, as it is sensitive to lighting conditions and poor camera resolution, and if there is glare from the sun. So, now we've covered the main types of facial recognition, we'll move on to its uses. Now, has anybody here...
Okay, guys. So, please take a picture of your notes and send it to the group, if you could. I'm also going to do that. Okay, so okay, guys. So before we do that though, okay, so we already know what the lecture was about, facial recognition. But can anybody tell me how it was structured? I mean, what exactly about facial recognition do we see in that, or do we hear in the lecture? What do we say? Anybody? Kate, what do you think?
What was the question? Sorry.
I mean, how does the professor organize that information, or what ideas does the professor discuss here? What about facial recognition?
Okay. The professor said that facial recognition is, I think, first, he mentioned that it was a tricky business because of the methods that some people use it, and then he gives examples of different kind of facial recognitions, like 3D models or 2D models, skin biometric, and so on. He gives examples of those.
Okay, so yeah, you're right. Great, that's correct. So at the beginning, as you said it, I think that professor explains a bit of how this works, what facial recognition is. I think he mentions an example as well. Like, that's the intro. But then the main thing, I mean, the structure of the lecture is the types of facial recognition, right? And we got 3 types, and you already mentioned this. You said the 2D model first, is the 3D model, and then the skin biometrics, right? Or the skin bio. So great, that's it. Now, one more thing. Would you guys say that there's something else? Like, were you guys able to identify any other subdivision or any other way in which the professor organizes the information? Is there anything else besides the 3 types?
Maybe that the types were from traditional to the newest technology.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I actually hadn't thought about it. So you're right. I think it's kind of, I mean, the 2D model is an improvement of the 3D, the 3D one is an improvement of the 2D one, and the skin biometry one is like the newest technology, as you said. So we saw that process of how it evolved from the traditional method to the newest one. Okay. Anything else? Okay, so one thing I noticed is that, regarding each type of facial recognition, he talks about like the advantage, not the advantages exactly, but yeah, like the advantages of each type and the problems that each one has, or the shortcomings, the things that they are missing, and that's how the new one is an improvement of the previous one instead. So we're gonna look at your questions now. I'm sorry, at your notes. Let's start with these ones. Okay. Loading. Okay, so here I have Danny's. Okay, so first thing I like is I like that you're using some symbols, you know? So you got your notes organized. I also like the fact that you have the divisions, you know, you have the numbers here, 1, 2, 3, and those are the 3 types. First, the 2D, 3D model, and the scheme biometric. Good. And okay, so you were able to identify that, you know? Look at this part here. I don't know if you can see. But yes, it has like better for changes, sunlight. So I'm guessing that the thing on the right part are
The advantages
shortcomings.
and the drawbacks, yeah.
Great, perfect. Okay, so you got it. I mean, the structure is good. I like that at the beginning you also had the some parts from the introduction, because that's also important. We'll probably have, you know, out of the 6 questions, then 1 or 2 are always about the introduction. So if you got a definition, sometimes it's usually just 1, and the other ones are about the types or the subtopics. So it's important to have something from the intro as well. Okay, good. So I like the organization. Perfect. Let's look at this one now. Okay, so it has also the intro, you know, facial recognition, tricky business, like good. I like that you're using symbols as well, like that equal sign. We got the 3D, 2D, scheme biometrics. I think I'm missing the 2D one, right? Or is it that one? Okay, so this one is not that organized, but as long as you are able to understand your notes, you know, these are just your notes. As long as you remember if you, the things that you don't have here, then we're okay. But good use of symbols, like this is the different symbol, you know, perfect. And okay, whose is this? It has a lot of information, good. I got, here we have the first one, the second one, and the third one. Great. And we got bullet points. I don't know exactly which ones are the advantages and the drawback, but we got those characteristics. Good. All right. And are we missing something? Okay, these are mine, but we're gonna look at it later. Okay. So this one is, I don't know, it's worrying me a bit. I think we got too little information here. So just facial recognition, focal points, distance. So this is about the intro, problems. Okay, is this, okay, whose is this? I think
You're muted.
oh my, you're listening to me. So I was asking David, is that all you got? This one here?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe this is a little, I think you're missing some important information. So I don't know, if maybe you remember it, I don't know. If it works for you, it's okay, but I would try to add, I would try to take notes on more. Okay, and here we have this one. Okay, I think it could be better organized, although it has, you know, it's highlighted a part of 3D and a scheme bio. I'm guessing that the check signals, those are the advantages. You got the example as well, the TV show. Okay. I don't know whose this is. Okay, good. So, all right. In my case, I did kind of the same. It doesn't matter, you know, the way that you arrange it in your paper, but as long as you make sure to create a differentiation between the 3 ones, you know, the way that Danny did, 1, 2, 3, it's okay as well, or highlight it or underline it, or I don't know. So in my case, I did that. At the beginning, I have some info about the example, I think. It's kind of messed up because in the 2D part, I added the definition and stuff, and it should have been, you know, at the beginning. But if you look at the happy and sad faces, those are the advantages and disadvantages of each one. And I got like a list of characteristics, I don't know, things that they mention. And, it's gotta work for you. Okay, guys. So now we're gonna try to answer these questions. So let's go back here and we're gonna read. Okay, who can read the first one? Can anybody read?
Where does the TV show Las Vegas take place? A, in a shopping mall, B, in a police department, C, in a casino, D, in a crime lab.
Okay, so you guys remember? Where does this TV show take place?
Is letter C.
In a casino. Okay, you'll agree?
Yeah. I think that's
Yeah,
it.
right. So yeah, I'm not sure if they mention like exactly the word casino, but they do talk about gamblers or poker tables. So it must have been a casino, yeah. All right. The second one, this is a concept, what's a face print? It's a definition. And it's also part of the intro, So is it a code that identifies a face, distinctive curves in the face, to the image of the face, or the number of nodal points in the face? What's a face print?
I think it's the letter D.
Letter D, the number of nodal points. Okay. Who agrees with that?
I think it's more A.
A. Okay. Adriana?
I think it's A.
A. Okay. We have two A's. Let's go for that one. A code which identifies a face. So yeah, that's correct. You know what? D is not such a bad option, because I think that the number of nodal points on the face is translated into a code, and that code is the face print. Okay, so it's part of the definition, but it's not that exactly. It's like when I say, what's a person, or I don't know, what's a student, and you could just say a person, So, yeah. So the number of nodal points is translated into a code, which is called the face print. Now, B and C are definitely out of context, C, for instance, it to the image of the face. If we think about it, that's just a photograph, or a drawing maybe, but it wouldn't really make sense for it to be a face print. Okay, let's go with question 3. Maybe Joaquin, wanna read that one?
Okay, teacher. Identify two problems with 2D facial recognition from the list below.
All right.
I have to read the option more too.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. A, it is not effective if a picture is dark. B, the person in the photograph must face the camera. C, facial curves change over time. D, nodal points cannot be measured.
Okay. So what are two problems with this 2D facial recognition?
I think it's B and C.
B and C, okay. Who
I
else?
would say A and B.
A and B, okay. And Danny, what do you think?
I would also say A and B.
Okay, we have two for that. Let's go. It's okay, great. So that's correct. B was right. So it's not effective if a picture is dark and the person must face the camera. Okay, so facial curves change over time. It's tricky. I would also consider that one, but nodal points cannot be measured, well, that's definitely not the one, right? Because those are in fact measured. Okay. Okay, let's go with the first one. Maybe Kate, could you please read it?
Okay. What is the problem with the 3D technology? A, it can only be used when the individual is directly facing the camera. B, the image might change over time. C, it's impossible to match a 3D image to a 2D image. D, it cannot distinguish between identical twins.
Okay, so what is it? What's the problem with this 3D technology? Look at your notes.
I think is D.
D, cannot distinguish between identical twins. Good. David?
Yes.
Which one would you go for?
B, the image might change over time.
Okay. Nicolas, what about you?
I would say D.
It cannot distinguish. Okay, we got two D's. Let's go for that one. So yeah, that's great. That's correct. It cannot distinguish between identical twins. This was also a tricky one because I remember that they don't mention this when they're talking about the 3D one. You know, I think they mention this when they are talking about the skin biometrics one. So they are like, so the good thing about the skin bio is that it can distinguish between identical twins, which is something that 3D wasn't able to do. So that's kind of how it went. So that it is a bit tricky, but if you got your, your notes organized 2D, 3D, and skin bio, when they're saying that you can go back to 3D and write it down. So, okay, so which two elements below can be measured by skin biometric technology? The curve of someone's skin, the texture of someone's skin, the existence of lines in the face or on the face, or D, the distance between the eyes. So which two can be measured by this technology?
B and C.
B and C, okay. Cayetano, what would you say?
A and C.
A and C, okay. Lucia, what about you?
I think A and C.
A and C. Corina?
I think it's B and C.
Okay, let's go with B and C. So yeah, that's actually correct. The texture of your skin and the existence of lines on your face. So if you think about it, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Because we're talking about skin biometric technology. So I remember that the curve of your chin and the distance between your eyes was something that the 2D measured, right? So it makes sense because the 2D was about the shape of your face, like the curves of, or I think it was about your nose as well, the length of your nose. And the skin biometric one is obviously about the skin. So it makes sense that it's about the texture of the existence of lines. So remember, guys, it's not only about taking notes and answering like a robot, but you also gotta make sure that you understand what it means. Okay, now we got the final one. Maybe Adrian, do you mind reading?
Sure. Which of these phases will the skin biometric system be unable to identify? I'm not sure, but maybe D.
Maybe D because of the glasses?
Yes, but I'm not sure if it say that the skin biometric can identify with the glasses or it can't. I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay, that's your
Andrea, I think that it's C and D because it says something about smiling and wearing glasses that it can recognize.
Okay, but we only can choose one.
Glasses.
Glasses D, okay. All right. Who else?
I think it's A.
A, okay, because of the light, it's dark.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Joaquin, Liliana, one of you two guys?
A2.
A2. Let's go with A. I'm gonna have to agree with you guys on A. So it is A, yeah, because of the light. And also, if, you know, use the previous questions to help you out. You know right now that the things that the skin biometric technology measure are the texture of someone's skin and the existence of lines on the face. So you gotta ask yourself, you know, in which ones am I not able to see that? And I think the only one is A, right? Because even though D is wearing glasses, I think the skin is still noticeable. But it's tricky, you know, that's why it's also important to organize your information because of course, I'm sure that they mentioned something about blinking, smiling, wearing glasses, but you will remember that. You will just not know which one was that for, you know? So was that for the 2D model or the 3D model or this one? So it's important that you look at your notes and try to use them. And that you also help you out, you know, with what you know. So probably kind of there. The same was here, you know? If you know that one problem with the 2D facial recognition technology is that the person must face the camera, then you can already eliminate A, you know, because it's supposed to be better. It's supposed to be meeting this or, yeah, like improving things that the other one was missing. So try to understand how it works. Okay, guys, I think if we hurry up, we have time to do one more. So let me just quickly show you the script. The thing that I want you to realize is that you gotta pay attention to these transitions, you know, so like this one. So let's start with the more traditional, and then you got the first one, right, the 2D. Then you got something like, so the new way of recognizing faces is by, and at the end of the first one, you also got another transition, like, so they had to come up with another way. You know that something's coming, you know, so you can anticipate that something will be there. And then you get the 3D one. Look at this. This system is good. The problem is, so the problems that each system has. Another good thing about the 3D one is, you know, there's also a new development called skin biometrics. And then it's all a list of things like, I don't know, this method can do this and that, and it can compensate for changes in facial features. It's not perfect though, so you got this, the drawbacks there, you know. Its other advantages over 3D imagery are that it's insensitive to changes, so you can write that down, you know. Okay, so here's what you guys were saying, you know, smiling. So actually this is an advantage that it has, because it's insensitive to changes in expression like blinking, smiling, and so forth. So you can actually smile and the system will work. So careful with that. Any questions for this task that we just did? Nope. Okay, so let's do one more very quickly. I'm gonna, okay, where are we? All right, so I'll play the lecture, take notes, and then we'll answer the questions as fast as we can. So this one is about population growth. We'll see.
Good morning, everyone. Now in today's lesson, I'd like to talk about population growth and in particular, fertility rate. Now, can anyone here define fertility rate?
Is it the number of births in a population measured per 1,000 people per year?
No, that's what we call the birth rate, the number of children born in a year per 1,000 people. No, the fertility rate is the average number of children born per woman in her lifetime, that is, if she lives beyond her childbearing years. Now, do you think the British fertility level is higher or lower than it was, say, 20 years ago?
I think it's lower because these days women are far more focused on their careers than they used to be.
Well, that point is certainly true, but actually, fertility levels in Britain are relatively high at the moment. In 2008, it was 1.96. That means that on average, each woman gives birth to 1.96 children, and in 2009, it was only slightly lower at 1.94. The last time fertility rates were this high was back in 1973. In the UK currently, the highest rate of fertility is in Northern Ireland, where the rate is 2.04, and the lowest is in Scotland, where the rate is just 1.77.
I don't understand. How come fertility rate is going up? Women are just as career-driven these days as they were 30 years ago.
Well, the reason is that during the 1990s, women really started to delay having families, and that was the reason for the decrease in birth rate then. Now those women are in their 30s and early 40s, and they are starting to have families. So that's why the birth rate is going up.
Oh, I see. So it's not actually as if people are actively choosing to have more children than they used to.
Yes, that's right, Charlene. The number of children per family is continuing to fall. Women who are currently in their 70s had an average of 2.4 children. Those in their 60s had 2.2, those in their 50s had 2.0, and the current figure is 1.9. Actually, this figure isn't due to more families choosing to have only one child, although that certainly is occurring. It's mainly because of the increasing number of women who have no children at all. This figure was 1 in 10 among the age group who are now 65, but now 1 in 4 women in their mid-40s are childless.
I heard that the fertility rate in Europe is like really low, 1.3 or something.
That's right, Charlene, it is. It's far below the replacement level. Can you tell me what replacement level means? No? It's the number of births you need to keep the population constant.
Yes, I heard that in France they're trying to get people to have more children. They even give out gold medals if you have 8.
That's right. So we've already mentioned that women are waiting before having children because of their careers. Why else is fertility rate generally decreasing?
I think they have fewer children because they're so expensive. I mean, I heard one report that said it costs £200,000 a year to raise a child here. But I find that difficult to believe. People's standard of living is far higher now than it used to be 100 years ago when families had 8 or 9 kids.
That's very true, but these days people's expectations tend to be higher. Parents want their children to have the best opportunities in life, so they're prepared to pay to develop their children's talents.
Yes, I heard that in China, where they're easing off some of the rules of the one-child policy and allowing some couples to have 2, many parents are still choosing to have 1. They say it's just too expensive. But, I reckon that with all this parental micromanagement that's going on these days, parents only have the time to manage 1 or 2 children.
That's a good point. So now I'd like to look at some different organizations and examine what they believe about the current population issues.
Okay. So this one I know it was a bit harder because you get a lot of numbers, right? A lot of numbers and statistics. And they also talk about the reasons, why the numbers are either so high or so low or that way. So let's quickly try to answer these questions and we'll see. So the first one, which of the following is defined as the number of children born per 1,000 people per year? Is it replacement level, fertility rate, birth rate, or fertility level? What's the number of children born per 1,000 people per year?
Isn't it birth rate?
Birth rate? Yeah, you'll agree?
Yes.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's birth rate. So careful. I think the professor asked, so can anybody tell me what fertility rate is, which is the actual topic? And one student says this, it's the number of children, blah, blah. But then the professor's like, well, I think you're wrong. I think that is birth rate. Fertility rate is another thing. So that interaction is important. And it also makes sense, right? The number of children born So, okay. A detailed question as well. Which of the following countries in the UK has the highest fertility rate? Is it England, Scotland, Wales, or Northern Ireland? Which one? Sorry for that, guys. What do you think?
I think it's Northern Ireland.
Okay. Northern Ireland, is it?
Oh, yes.
Okay, let's go for that one. So yeah, correct. Go on. Now the third one is the reason. So why is fertility rate in the UK higher than it was 20 years ago? Is it because couples are choosing to have larger families? Because a higher proportion of women are having children now? Women who delayed childbirth are having children now? Or fewer women are interested in their careers? Why is it?
The third one. Women who delayed childbirth are having children now.
Okay, let's go for that one. Great. So yeah, that's it. So they used to be, well, they delayed childbirth and now they're having their kids. Okay, we got a number here. Let's pray. What proportion of women in their mid-40s do not have children nowadays? Is it 10%, 4, 25, or 40%? Do you guys remember that?
25%.
25? You got it in your notes?
It said one quarter, something like that. 1/4 of women
Okay.
are childless.
Wow, that's surprisingly accurate. So yeah, you even did some math here. So I have to agree with you. 1/4, which is 25%. Okay, great. It wasn't even that direct. And the okay, it's not the final one. What do French couples who have 8 children receive? We have pictures. Is it a trophy, a medal, money, or a house? What do they get?
A medal.
A medal, right? As surprising as that may be. So yeah, they do get a medal. Should be money, right? And the final one,
Maybe they
which
can
of
say,
these reasons?
maybe they can sell
Sorry?
the medal. They can sell the medal if it is made of
Yeah,
gold.
they can sell. Yeah, good idea. If it's made of gold, then yes, they could sell it to help them out. But if it's not, then it's kind of useless. Okay, the last one. Which of these reasons for low fertility rates is not mentioned? Women are increasingly focused on their jobs. People want to enjoy their lives before taking on responsibility. Parents do not have time to have many children, or children are considered to cost a lot of money. So what's not mentioned as one reason?
The second one. People want to enjoy their lives before taking on responsibility.
Okay, so yeah, that's right. I think, yeah, they mentioned all the other ones. Women are increasingly focused on their jobs. That was what the student said, right? She was like, so why do you think these levels are so, or are low now? And the student was like, I think it's because women are now more career driven. The money thing, they mentioned this, and they also talk about China and how even though this policy that allowed them to only have one child is now being a bit more flexible, and people are still choosing to only have one because of money, So yeah. All right, guys. So is that okay? Sorry, any questions? comments? Nothing? Okay, guys. So please, before you leave, I just started today's survey. You could answer those questions, fill that out. Okay, so thank you so much, guys, for joining us. See you all next class.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
teacher.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Teacher.
Bye. Take care.